Welcome to another episode here, the Weekly Rebound, brought to you here live on Google Hangouts, available to you guys on Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud, wherever you guys get all your content. I'm your host, as always, Connor Sauer, and alongside me, my co-host, Greg Horn. Greg, it's been a busy week already, a lot of action going around the league. Are you ready for today's pod? How's it been, my man?
I'm very excited. We got a great pod coming.
Yep.
Very, very interesting pod, I should say. Coming off an interesting semifinals. I want to shout out all the teams, that didn't play, but were in the regular season. We missed you guys. We definitely missed our guys like the Rim Breakers, Nick Strong, Young Kings, guys like that. And, I'm excited to get into it.
I couldn't say it any better myself, my man. And on today's pod, we have a great episode, like Greg had already mentioned. I'll break down alongside my man all of the semifinals action, and we're going to be previewing the finals as well. But before we get into all that good stuff, me and Greg want to reminisce a little bit about some of the good times, some of the good times this league has experienced during the season for Winter 19 here in Connecticut. Greg, what's been your shining moment, your favorite moment up to this point? Obviously, leading up to the pinnacle, which is the finals next week, and of course the All-Stars, and then all the contests. There's still some great stuff to come, but concluding the regular season, leading up to the finals, what's been your favorite moment so far in the Legacy Leagues this season?
I mean, there's been a lot of them. There's been a lot of good moments this year, just like all of the past years. There's been some ups and downs. But me as a big Flint Tropic guy, my highest moment was when they beat the number one team, Shocker. Shocker City's a powerhouse. Shocker City's unquestionably the best team in the league. They proved that, obviously, by making the finals. Spoiler alert. And, they're just – Shocker City is special. And Flint beat them, and it was a huge win for them. Those guys really wanted it. It was huge. But it's also a bittersweet win. Also because now I'm looking back at it. And, Flint obviously lost this upcoming semifinals. And it obviously sucks, to say, best win was the regular season win. But regardless of that, I mean, what a performance it was from the guys. Bizzuto, Kaj, Druon, Doubleday, Sear, I mean, the Japs brothers, the whole squad, Gian's, I mean, even Dom, these guys, they did their whole thing. And, I love Flint. I'll always Flint Nation, baby, till I die. But it's just a bittersweet feeling because, they're just coming off a big loss. And obviously I wanted them to win. But, that was like you said, I think you said it, Connor, best. It was a monumental win for them. It was such a big win. And Shocker City is the powerhouse. I believe, have only 3 losses in their entire span, and it was to what? No Limit, the Chasers, and Flint. So it's just, hats off to Flint for that win. Flint Tropics, baby, Flint Nation, and we'll be eating dubs again next season.
It was a very impressive win, one that's worthy of being in that top moment of the season for yourself. Of course, the Flint bandwagon operator himself. But at the end of the day, man, that really was a win that's going to go down in the books as one of the best regular season wins of all time. Now, obviously, they probably are aiming more for the best win of all time, in terms of the postseason. But nonetheless, a regular season win, what gives your team confidence, what gives your team momentum. And they really seem to be the most confident team in the league this season. We'll talk about how that unfolded this week and obviously the outcome of the semifinals matchup. But nonetheless, dude, Flint was a real competitor all year, and they definitely one of the best teams in the league and deserving of being in that top-ranked spot for basically the second half of the regular season after they beat Shocker City and never relinquished it to anybody or never even came close to relinquish it to anybody. So shout out to definitely the Flint Tropics. I know Ryan Cash hit it right on the head. He saw me this week. He says, you may not be on the bandwagon, but you've never been a hater. And I really couldn't have said it any better myself. I've always been a big fan of those guys and what they bring to the league, their energy, their excitement, their team camaraderie, everything that they bring to the league is always on a positive level. And I like seeing those guys ball. So I like you picking that, Greg. For me, my favorite moment was a little bit of family rivalry going on. It was when Dominique Langston of the Chasers posterized, I mean, absolutely, hate to say it, but nuts to the face, Eric Langston on the receiving end of one of the most mesmerizing dunks I saw probably in Legacy League's history. Dominique Langston's a big boy, Division I basketball player in his day. He can get up, and he's got some weight, and when he gets up flying through the sky, you do not want to be in front of that freight train. And his cousin, Eric Langston, definitely, on the driveway back in the day was probably, you can just see these guys going at it from their childhood all the way up to this moment, probably through college ball as well. And just in a recreational fun league, just going at it head to head on the mini hoop and just Eric catching a body, man. That was absolutely hysterical. Dominique, just one of the best dunks I've seen. Like I said, a moment where everybody was cracking up. Even Deontay Washington, big friends of all the Langstons, teammates of another former great Langston in Legacy Leagues, Greg. So I know that those guys got some connections. So Deontay literally on the FaceTime at the game on the bench tries to FaceTime Greg Langston to let him know that his brother just received a body from his own cousin. So that was definitely a funny moment for me, Greg. I know that you like that one too. So I'll let you speak on what you like to see when you watch the Langstons play basketball here in the Legacy League.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I mean, we know Greg, Greg Langston is something special. And, I mean, just to have his brother and cousin play in this league too, they're special too. I mean, that family, what the hell? They are just it's crazy how good and gifted they are. And Dominique Langston, when he posterized, that was beautiful. I was taking pictures at the time. I got a picture of it. Oh, man, that is one of those dunks I will never forget from my time in this league. If I'm working a job and let's say I'm working a job, I'm 32 and Legacy's still on my resume. And, maybe it won't be as big a part, but it still is. And some guy says, oh, you worked at a basketball league when you were younger? And I'll be like, yep. And I'll think back. And one of the things I'll think back of is Dominique Langston dunking over Eric. And, man, that was what a poster that was.
Absolutely. One that we'll definitely remember, one that's, being highlighted at this moment in time for a reason. That was fun, Greg. Like going back in time and just, basically reeling the tapes back if we had them and just roll them. I think we probably do have a clip of that somewhere. So definitely when the top 10 plays of the season come out, be sure to check the Legacy League's YouTube page, Facebook page, and you guys will be able to catch that. That's going to be some good stuff. Greg, let's get right into these games, dude. 2 semifinals matchup, and this was an unbelievable slate of games that we had here. Without a doubt, in my mind, the best 4 teams in the league. Shocker City taking on Sportslook in this first game. And, Sportslook came out hot, Greg. They came out firing, and they were looking like they were going to deliver a beatdown on Shocker City. They scored double digits before Shocker got on the board. But at the end of the day, man, Sportslook was not able to come up with that win. It was a 83-64 loss to Shocker City, and just not enough from the guys. Jeff Norco absolutely balled out like he always does. That's just typical Jeff Norco stuff. Just absolute monster. 24 points on 10 of 17 shooting, extremely efficient with 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks. The only 2 blocks on his entire team came from Jeff Norco. So, just not enough from guys like Acevedo, who had 18 points, but only on 2 of 11 shooting from 3. And he had a 1 assist to 7 turnover ratio, which is not good. That's not going to get it done for your boys. Dan Kokoros kind of fell flat. Only 11 points on 2 of 7 from 3, where he's been lights out all year, stretching the floor as a big man. And Terrell Holmes, not a terrible night. 11 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists. But against a team like Shocker, you just need more. No,
yeah, you do. And I mean, Terrell Holmes last week was a huge reason why they beat the Rim Breakers. He was able to keep his cool and talk that trash, and he kind of, was getting under the skin of a few of the Rim Breakers, and it ended up being a big reason. And in this game, Shocker City's got guys like Greg Daniels and Danny Lopez and Deontay Washington and Jerry, and they can all guard him and play with him. And if his 3-point shot's not on, it's easier to defend him because he's going to drive. You just know he's going to. And, Jeff Norco continues to be the consistent force for the Sportslook team. He's their unquestioned best player. Every game gives them everything he has. He even has 5 personal fouls, so he's out there really just fighting for everything. 7 rebounds. I mean, like you said, Jeff Norco does it in every facet of the game, and it's so fun to watch him because he takes his points where he gets them. He doesn't force bad shots. He's a very smart player, and he plays phenomenal defense. But Shocker City has too much. If Deontay Washington's playing this well, it's over. You're not beating Shocker City with Deontay Washington playing this well. They have too much talent with Greg Daniels, Mike Davis, Jerry Washington, Jason Hernandez, Danny Lopez, Devon Pratt. I mean, you could argue once J.R. Wright comes back, they got J.R. too, and J.R. hasn't even been here these past 2 weeks. This team is stacked. This team is loaded, and I don't see them stopping.
So, Greg, for these two semifinals matchups, we came up with some talking points. So I want to run them by you. We're going to briefly run through these really quick. Some interesting storylines that were occurring in this game that we're just going to expand on a little bit more. So this first one I wrote down is Jeff Norco, the only star of the show. So Jeff Norco, really, as you looked at the stat sheet, you got 18 from Acevedo, you got double digits from Dan Kay and Terrell, but their numbers statistically were not efficient or just not enough in general. It's like Terrell needs to be more aggressive. Acevedo needs to tone it back a little bit. Dan needed to probably work inside more and not shoot as many threes. Everybody could have done a little bit differently. In my mind, Jeff Norco played the best game. He even talked to us after and said, how he was really preaching how ball movement was going to be a key to beating these guys. And that really was in those opening minutes to this game when they took control of that of the scoreboard, by double digits plus, and really had Chris Rosinski in particular shaking. Like he was definitely a little bit nervous. You could tell because he was screaming at his guys to get back on defense, to score some points. Not happy. You can just say for Shocker City's bench during this game for those first few minutes. And then until they got hot, momentum started coming. Obviously, the ball started to slow down offensively for Sportslook, Greg. So what did you see from Jeff Norco out there? He was basically trying to operate as, do-it-all player, which is so hard to do against a team that has so many guys like Shocker. But nonetheless, he did have the right approach. He had the right mindset. Just the execution from, the other guys just wasn't all there in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. Shocker City is too. Look, I mean, I know I love Flint. I think you would agree with this, though. The reason that Flint could beat Shocker in the regular season was because they have a bench and everyone plays, and they had the bodies, and they all rotate in and out, and they all showed up that game.
Right.
Not everyone showed up this game. Excuse me. And that was the big difference. I mean, you're not going to beat Shocker City if one guy can maybe have a bad night. You're not beating Shocker City if your team has a bad night. Their team is too talented with too many good players who at any given point are going to hit at least 2 or 3 threes. At one point in the game, Shocker City is going on like a 25-point spree, and they're just not going to miss. Right. It happens every single game, no matter who they're playing. And you have to be able to just keep up with them. You can't go on scoring lulls, and that's what Sportslook does, unfortunately. And in the end, it really killed them.
Yeah, Sportslook hits like a few minutes of time during all their games where the ball just doesn't really start to go down like it had been during, they really do operate on runs, but their runs aren't big enough to sustain an offensive game against a team like Sportslook. Against a team like Shocker City. Because Sportslook, like I said, you can go on a 10-point run like they did to start the game. But that's if you're not going to be able to at least sustain points, here and there, while you have a lead, teams are going to come back on you. I feel like that happened a lot with Sportslook this year. But a lot of that does have to do with depth. They could say that their guys stopped playing as well as they did in those opening minutes, which they did, obviously. But that's because they're tired. Terrell Holmes was a shell of himself defensively out there in the second half. He's a lockdown player. Terrell Holmes is one of the best athletes in this league. And he was really just getting blown by to the basket, like on multiple possessions in a row, where it's like if you knew if that guy had some Gatorade and some extra wind right now and could go take a seat for 5 minutes and come off, he'd be right back to being himself. But, when you're constantly out there having a grind with only one guy on the bench, and no offense to Scott Christie, he just wasn't the player that they needed off the bench in this matchup. You needed somebody who was going to be a lot faster and be able to keep up with a full court press and another ball handler like a John Zervos would have been perfect for them just to eat up minutes and be productive out there. The next one, Greg, Deontay Washington, the return. This dude kind of been a missing piece for this team all year. He showed up at times, hasn't looked like he fit because he's not been playing too much. But this game he showed up late as always and just puts on his shoes, puts on his basketball socks, shorts, jersey, got all strapped up, everything. So surprised to see Deontay out there. And he balled, Greg. What can you say about Deontay Washington?
Deontay Washington shows up about 15 minutes late to every game. I think he has a job or a league he plays in. He
never dressed to play basketball.
Probably plays sweatpants most of the time. I mean, Jerry plays
in like a denim jacket. I love it.
He always every time he's out of the game, he's not watching the game. He's just on his phone, just chilling, relaxing, and he even went as far as to give Run TMC. He was talking to Run TMC about what they should be doing, giving them advice. He is the loosest guy out there. And I think that actually benefits Shocker City. They have people like Chris and Danny and someone like Mike who are more tight and they get active at it, and whereas Pratt or someone like Greg Daniels, I'd say, is more tight, but you got someone like Pratt and you got someone like how am I blanking? Deontay Washington. And you got someone like Jerry.
And his brother, Jerry. Jerry's another one.
They're all loose, and I think they just have the perfect collection of loose, tight, and then this guy like Jason who's loose and tight at the same time, but when he wants to be, he locks in and he really gets going. And I mean, I just think that DeAndre Washington is such a special player because he doesn't have to – his impact is so easy. It's such a simple impact for him to have on the game. He doesn't have to give full effort out there, especially who you're going to put on him that can guard him.
Right.
Because I haven't seen anyone that can.
And you mentioned Mike Davis. That's the last talking point for this one, Greg, before we get into the next game. Where was Mike Davis this game, and how did they pull out such a good win without basically actually, I'll say it, one of the worst games I've ever seen Mike Davis play. And it wasn't like he was playing bad, but just production-wise just wasn't there. You know, he just wasn't the same Mike Davis that you'd see in a big game like this.
Mike Davis is like Dwayne Wade because both of those two are the GOATs. I'm not saying like Dwayne Wade's the GOAT, but like Mike Davis is the GOAT. But like,
and Dwayne Wade is a GOAT. He's not the GOAT. He's a GOAT.
Yeah. And they're such good guys that Mike Davis, I think he realizes, look, Pratt's lights out. Jason Hernandez was killing that game. Greg Daniels was the matchups that game were just more fit. He just knows. Like, not that he had a bad game at all. I remember he took Dan K to the rack and he slapped the backboard. It went in. He said, "You ain't getting that shit." And I mean, he was talking shit. Mike Davis doesn't. He hit a fadeaway J over Tyrell Holmes, and he said, "Not today, big." Like he was engaged, but he's such a smart player that he knows. Like, look, if Pratt's hitting, Greg Daniels is playing well, Danny's really playing well out there. I'm gonna let my guys do their thing. Didi's balling, Jerry's like he understands. I want my team to win. He's got the MVPs. He's got every award possible outside of fifth man, and that's it, fifth man. And he's never going to get that because you'd be a fool to not start Mike Davis. But I mean, that's what it comes down to. He's such a smart teammate. He sacrifices. He's just like Dwayne Wade did on the Heat. He doesn't care about playing time, stats, awards, anything. He just wants to get that ring, really, for him and Rosinsky.
And Greg, we saw things, you mentioned it, between Tyrell Holmes and Mike Davis get a little bit chippy out there, locked arms, play stop, nothing crazy, but just two fierce competitors, two alpha dogs going head-to-head out there. Is that the type of stuff that enthuses you when you're watching a basketball game, or is that the type of stuff we should avoid?
I look, we got the Baccarella, Bronson, sports, get into it. But, you know, I love that kind of thing. And even after the game, they were dapping each other up. They were good. Like, they were laughing about it because it's just a competitive nature. It's okay to get pushed. You know, there's always going to be pushing. You know, it's competitive. It's how it goes. But you never want to see it escalate to actual punches being thrown. And besides that, you know, I love to see a physical because it should be competitive. It's a semifinals game, man. There should be a little pushing going on, a little shoving. I don't mind that.
There should be teams playing on edge.
No elbows and no cheap shots.
No UFC stuff, but
you got to fight it. You got to fight out there. It's a battle.
It is most definitely a battle. It's like Game of Thrones, like a final episode. Just two absolute monstrous teams going head to head out there on the battlefield. That's what it should be like. Honestly, let's be real.
Yep.
All right, Greg. Let's get into this next game, buddy. This next game. Wow, what a game. You're not going to be too happy. It's going to be a somber tone for Greg on this one. I'm not happy either. I picked the Flint Tropics. So before we get into this, Greg, we do owe an apology. We did our little finals preview you last week. You picked, of course, the Flint Tropics, and I picked Shocker City. So then we were basically talking, Shocker City versus Flint Tropics final. We left out TMC as if they completely don't exist. And our guy, friend of the show, Eric Singleton, made sure he let us know. He came up to that sideline.
Looked right at us.
He looked right at us, and he gave us that look and said, yeah, you guys were wrong.
Yep. That's all he said. He didn't say, hey, he didn't dap us up. He just said straight that.
Yeah, that's it. He just dropped the mic on us and walked away. And Eric, you're listening, dude. You got every right to do that to Greg and I when we screw up. And, hey, you know, we did not see Run TMC being this good at this point in the year. You know, they're one of those teams that really just found themselves later in the season. Reggie's just being able to lead the show. And Eric, let's talk about Eric. 75-65 win, and Eric Singleton was a key piece in that victory. 25 points and 4 steals. really supplementing the unbelievable performance that you got from Reggie Stewart. But it was a really great game from Eric, who, you know, they needed that because there's a lot of things that went into this game, Greg. Mike Bizzuto and Dom Migliaro for the Flint Tropics, respectively, also balled out. 21 for Mike, 20 for Dom. They combined for 9 rebounds. So those guys definitely gave some good numbers on their end, Greg. But your guys, the Flint Tropics, just not enough. We'll get into it with some of these storylines, but I want to hear your initial take from this game.
I want to first, say apologies to Run TMC for overlooking them.
Yep.
Of course. Eric Singleton played his best game of the year, and that's the Eric Singleton that I know that, I mean, I put on my all-defensive team. That's the Eric Singleton that last season I was arguing maybe he's MVP. I mean, he was in the race last year. There's no debate. And, you know, I think Eric Singleton, I don't know what he's doing, what team he's going to go to in the summer, but he should stay with Run TMC because I think him and Reggie are really starting to figure something out.
Nasty backcourt.
Figure something out special. And honestly, I think this game came down to Reggie Stewart is just a bad man, and it's really hard to stop that man when he gets going. I mean, there are a few players in this league that with the ball in his hand can do everything. He can go to he led the game with 14 rebounds, excuse me. Like it's
I have 16. I'm
16. I was telling Connor too, he's the only guard in this league that follows his shot every single time.
Consistently.
He boxes out. He has the motor of a Cody DiLeonardo with the skill of a Mike Davis.
Melquan Horton used to chase every shot too, I will say.
Yep, he did. No, but that's like the craziest part about it. He has like it's just Reggie Stewart has the will.
He has the motor of a Melquan, but like the skill of a Mike Davis.
He wants it. He wants it more than anyone out there on every time he's on the court. And, you know, forget that we always talk about how good he is. You know, he's the best step back in the league. His mid-range is amazing. His handles, the way he can drive to the hoop, manipulate the defense, and get those up and unders is phenomenal. His vision is amazing. But the most impressive, I'm trying to put it into words, the most impressive part about Reggie Stewart is his damn heart. I talk about Captain America for Cody.
He's not loud, Greg. He doesn't bark at you, really. You know, he kind of just stares at you.
He lets his play talk every time. I've never heard him talk trash once because he knows he's going to drop 48 and 11, and he isn't going to say anything because you're going to know who he is.
He gives guys the mean mug. He's one of the best mean muggers.
He's like Derrick Rose.
Yeah, he doesn't really. Yeah, you're right. Like D Rose, who doesn't. Yeah, you're right. He just lets his game do his talking for him. You know, he's going to posterize you and then just stare at you. He's not going to say anything. He's just going to stare into your soul. And make you feel less than a man. That's what Reggie Stewart does.
Because he's smiling out there. He's having a good time. And then you're like, dude, I like this guy. He's smiling. He's having a good time. Like he's posing and everything.
A funny story. One of my friends came to a Legacy Leagues game last year. He doesn't know anybody, of course. He just came to check it out. And it was happened to be Run TMC was playing. And he saw Reggie Stewart play. And then he texted me when he got home that day. And he goes, man, I don't know who that kid was that looked like little Uzi Vert out there, but he was nasty. So it just goes to show somebody who doesn't even watch the game, doesn't even know who he is, just show up and watch him play. He's pure excitement. He's got the swag. He's got the shot. He's got the assist.
He's the best player right now.
Skills. He's got everything. He's unbelievable. The Reggie Stewart show is in full effect. So, Greg, let's get into these talking points for this game. The first one I wrote down was Reggie Stewart. So basically, we got that one out of the way. So Reggie Stewart, absolute animal, 31 points, 16 rebounds. Just down the stretch of this game, it's not even the amount of shots that he made, it's the difficulty of the shots that he was making. I wish that if people that weren't there and just listening to hear us talk about it, us talking about it does no justice to what this man actually does on the court. It is beautiful. The floater game, the difficulty in the floaters that this kid hits, driving to the rack with bodies all over him. The step back threes that he hits in people's face are just pure water. Like, I don't even understand it. He literally doesn't even hit the rim, and he's got people draped all over him. The step back work is literally flawless, as if he was taught by like Ray Allen or some of the best shooters of all time. I don't get it, dude. He gets the spacing, and then his jump shot, he literally probably jumps like 3 feet in the air, and he can shoot over almost the tallest player in the league consistently. So Reggie's the GOAT, dude. He really is one of the best players that this league has ever seen and that we'll ever see. That's a fact. Greg, but both teams relied on two scorers in this game. Basically, for Run TMC, it was Reggie and Eric combining for well over 50 points, and Mike Bizzuto and Dom, who combined for over 40 points. So, what was really missing from both teams' respective bench players in the scoring production-wise to make this game an even higher scoring matchup than what it already was?
It's really hard to say because, we talk so much about bench scoring and how important, literally what I just talked about with Flint's biggest strength against Shocker City. I literally just talked about it. And in the end, that was their downfall. Run TMC all year. Remember we talked about how at least I was worried and you were somewhat worried on, is it always up to Reggie? Mm-hmm. Or is it always up to Reggie and Eric? And in the end, that benefited them. Flint all year never had to have a game where only two players had over double digits. I don't think there was a game where that happened.
Right.
And when that happens, late in the game, Run TMC knows what they're doing. They pass the ball to Reggie Stewart and move out. Yeah. Or Reggie's going to give it to Eric Singleton, and Eric Singleton, he trusts Eric enough. Eric's going to do his thing. Flint hasn't been in those situations with their best shooter, TJ Gianni, out. So let's say there's 59 seconds left. They're down 5. You got Bizzuto and Dom out there. Gianni can't be in because he fouled out. So you probably have Nick Japs can't be in because he was not in the game, and he's one of their better players. So he's out. Mike Druon was in with Matt Sear. But the problem is Matt Sear was not aggressive in that game. He wasn't shooting threes. Mike Druon's a good three-point shooter, but he's an extremely efficient driver. Right. And then Damigliaro, again, good shooter. Beck Bizzuto's an elite shooter. But they know what you're going to do. They're going to put Reggie on Mike. They're going to put Eric on Dom. And then you're going to have to give it to someone else to do the damage. And in the end, it came down to a Damigliaro 3. It went in and out. It looked good, but you want TJ Gianni shooting that shot. Yeah, you want Bizzuto shooting that shot.
Yeah.
TMC will live with themselves all day. Reggie Stewart missing a game winner.
100%.
Shocker City, if Mike Davis misses a game winner, hey, you missed it. We lost because of that. But if Chris Rzinski, I love you, Rzinski, if he misses a game winner, we're going to be like, why is Rzinski taking a game winning shot? And Rzinski would say the same thing. So the bench in the end of the day, I want to say too, Paul, I don't know how to say his last name.
Paul Mirmina.
Paul the GOAT.
Paul the GOAT.
He did his
best game of the season.
What a performance! 2 impact, huge threes when Flint were going on a run.
Huge plays, not even like the production. It's like the timely plays, right?
Huge. Yep.
So,
huge.
Shout out to Paul Mirmina, who had like Greg said, a big game for the big moments in which he showed up. It wasn't necessarily the amount of points that he poured in or amount of assists that he got. It was just the ability to show up in the biggest moment of the game to hit a big shot. Which gave them a ton of momentum that they needed to seal that one off. Greg, let's get into the talking points. The rest of them now. We had, like I said, we started off to kind of set up the other ones. We said both teams relied on 2 scorers. Well, that was because some of the best players weren't even in the game down the stretch, and 2 of them being Eric Langston and Nick Japs. We're not going to avoid it. Not going to get into it too much, but these guys, they got into it. Some typical old school basketball, some 1990s basketball. They got into it. And the refs threw him out. It was an ejection. Both guys, thrown out of the game for physically having an altercation with one another. And that impacted both teams. One can say that losing Eric Langston's a bigger impact on TMC than it would be for the Flint Tropics to lose Nick Japs simply based off the amount of depth that they have and players who are similar to Nick Japs who can come off the bench and give you likewise production in other areas where Run TMC doesn't have another Eric Langston. I love my man's Tyler Feldman. That's my guy. But Tyler can't come in and give you Eric Langston minutes. That's just not going to be the way it is. What do you think? How did both these teams adjust to losing two of their star players? And how do you think they fared going forward in this game without them?
The best way I'll put it is Flint's like a heart. Flint's like a heart. You need all the parts of the heart really to be functioning well, or you're going to have an issue. You're going to have heart problems, maybe have a heart attack. Something's going to go wrong. When they lost Nick Japs, it wasn't like a team losing like for instance, if I was on Shocker, or if you were on Shocker, or if like a Tyler, or like a Resent, like losing a player like that, or even a Joey or a Paul, or there's levels to it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Nick Japs isn't one of Flint's top 2 players, but he is one of their better players. He
Top 3, I'd say.
Yeah, he down low, he has an amazing soft touch. He's one of their better rebounders. He's a phenomenal, like he can do it all out there, and he can hit threes. And not only that, he gives them kind of this toughness that it doesn't surprise me. He's the one getting in a fight because he plays that gritty type of basketball you need. He grinds out there. He gets that tenacious rebounds. He reminds me of a Zach Randolph in that sense.
Yeah.
And I mean, once he was out of the game, a part of that heart was gone, and it completely changed the way Flint played. And whereas TMC is like, I don't know, like a hand. You can cut your pinky off. You still got 4 fingers. And one of those fingers is Reggie Stewart, and one of those fingers is Eric Singleton. And they've all year been playing. TMC all year has been playing with 4 fingers.
Anatomy with Greg Horn.
They don't even got they don't even got this. So like it's I love my Flint Tropics, but you know, I know they're upset with their performance because like my guys Mike Bizzuto and them are better than 30% shooting, and I know they know they're better. And you know, I'm Flint forever, but it's a bittersweet topic for me.
So I hope you guys enjoyed your anatomy lesson there with Mr. Greg Horn. You guys all pass. Everybody who's listening, you all get A's. So shout out to you guys. Greg, the other talking point I had, the last one, final one, is Dom and TJ for Flint Tropics both fouled out of this game. TJ especially early, not able to play key minutes down the stretch. I remember there was less than a minute left, but probably around 50, 45 seconds left in the game. And the Flint Tropics were down 3. I'm pretty sure they just called a timeout, and they just organized the play, and they went out there with no TJ Gianni, who's sitting there on the sidelines looking like he was flattened. He just looked like demoralized completely. And I said, Greg, well, why isn't TJ on this court right now? And he said, dude, he fouled out. And I was like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
That's why. Explains everything. It's probably why he looked depleted emotionally. And it's probably why they weren't able to get a 3 to fall to tie that game up late. So Dom Migliaro, you said, was out there able to take the final shot, but Dom fouled out of this game as well. So it's a mystery in this game how these teams fared. And do you think if TJ didn't foul out that this game may have gone differently?
It's easy to say that, but every time I think about this, I remember an old thing that my old baseball coach used to say to me. And he used to say before games, I don't want to hear woulda, coulda, shoulda, Yeah. Yep. Everyone can say woulda, coulda, shoulda. Yeah. Maybe TJ would have hit a 3 or so. But what Reggie Stewart does to a team, he doesn't only defeat you. He mentally drains you.
Yeah, he does.
He hits these shots, and it's just you're out there like, what do we do to stop this guy?
I know. I wish I had the screen share right now, Greg, because I did clips for this game, and there's a clip where they put Matt Sear on Reggie. So somebody in the group huddle said, all right, we're putting our defensive player of the year for this team on their best player. All right, so they come out the next play. Matt Sear is guarding Reggie at the point. Reggie takes like a step back. He's almost standing on the white line. If you know in sports, you know what line I'm talking about. And sweats a 3, and Matt Sear still contested the shot, still sweats it. And it's just Matt Sear just looks down like, dude, what do you want me to do? What am I supposed to do to stop this man? And when the answer to that question is nothing, it leaves you pretty friggin' demoralized. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, literally, I'm a Flint fan and I'm demoralized. Matt Sear also. I love Matt Sear. Maybe he should be more aggressive. He's one of the bigger guys in this league. I think he could drive to the hole and take some dudes to the rack.
I saw Matt Sear. He pulled a little mid-range game in early on for first half when it started to get pretty close. Actually, after Flint jumped out and jumped TMC. I don't think we mentioned that. They completely jumped them, and then TMC fought back in this game. It's actually crazy. It happened in both games. The losing team on both ends in the semis had a double-digit lead to start the game, which is crazy. So I saw Matt pull the mid-range, and it missed badly. And I think to me, that was to him oh, I don't have it tonight. And he just completely dialed back his offensive game. I don't think Matt Sears is the reason why they lost the game, because they weren't probably banking on him scoring that many points anyways. He kind of just plays the flow of the game. He played good defense. I saw, he was out there playing good defense. He was contesting Reggie's shots whenever he was on him, but just not enough offensive production from him and all the other guys. That's all I'm saying, is that, there's a lot of guys on this team that could step up and give them production. Ryan Cash had a couple really nice shots in a row to keep this game close, to keep the Flint Tropics ahead at one point. So that was some delightful shooting from him. I always call him the sharpshooter, and he was living up to the name. So just unfortunately to see these guys walk out there demoralized, pretty pissed off, not happy with the whole situation. But hope these guys come back, Greg, because we're big Flint fans, obviously, here on the pod, right?
Oh, I'm a big Flint fan. And am I frozen? Am I seriously frozen?
Greg is frozen. So we'll try to figure that out.
I'll leave and Connor will invite me back, but this is a great time to let Connor talk. Breaking news, Connor, while you invite me back, we're talking this. LG, Greg Daniels, one of the best dunkers in the league, has denied the dunk contest. He declined it. He said he's an in-game dunker. Invite me back, I'll let you discuss.
In-game dunker. So Greg Daniels, guys. Greg leaving us with the tidbit there. Yeah, so Greg Daniels, guys, in my opinion, one of the best rookies that this league had this year. He's a stud, and he's one of the biggest guys in the league. And on top of that, he's a high flyer. So when you got guys who are as athletic as Greg Daniels, he's probably got a lot of other basketball leagues that he's involved with. He's probably got a lot going on in his life. I wouldn't want to see a man like that get injured, because he is truly somebody that can probably get hurt with the amount of dunks that he could do on a small hoop. So we're still waiting on Greg to join here back on the pod. I currently don't know where he is. But until then, we're just going to rock out. So we're going to get into the ending part of the pod until Greg joins us back, which would be the recap, or I'm sorry, the preview. I'm all screwed up here without my co-host. This is pretty crazy. Sometimes you take Greg for granted, that the jerk that he is. Hopefully he didn't hear that. But let's get into this finals preview. It's going to be run TMC, and they're going to be taking on Shocker City. And it's going to be one of the best finals in a while, because this is a rematch, and we love rematches in the finals. Two teams going back at it from last season all the way back to this season. It's going to be pretty intense to see how these guys perform. So everybody, I want you guys to focus on the guard play. The guard play matchups is going to be what determines this game, because rumor has it that Eric Langston might not be able to play in this matchup, as Greg finally, better late than never, gets back in. Greg,
got more breaking news.
He's got more breaking news, Greg. You took a little long, so you scared me, so I kept it moving along. We're already previewing next week's finals.
Ooh.
We're already talking about the guard play matchups here. I was talking about Reggie Stewart and what he's going to be able to have to do against guys like Mike Davis, Jason Hernandez, and guys like Eric Singleton. How's he going to match up? Who's going to be guarding who, you think? Starting guards versus starting guards. Before you get into that, though, drop your breaking news and then get into the guard play.
Well, I don't want to ruffle any feathers in my sources, but let's just say Shocker City will be returning a majority of their players next season, with a few additions.
Okay, so with that being said, which current players on Shocker City's lineup are going to have to make a difference in the backcourt going up against Reggie and Eric?
I think that Jason Hernandez is going to be a big key. I think he needs to keep playing very well, like he's been on the defensive side of the ball. He's playing very good defense, and he just needs to keep hitting his threes and running the offense, limit the turnovers, no turnovers. But Jason's been playing. I mean, last week he played his best game. I think he was balling. I mean, I picked him as most improved. He didn't get the most improved, which unfortunately, spoiler, but I'm terrible at spoiling. I'm a spoiler king, but that's how we do it here in the Legacy Leagues. And I just think that it's going to be Reggie. These guys know each other. Mike and Reggie have played before, and I have a Mike Davis quote. I think Mike Davis really wants to give Reggie Stewart. I think he owes Reggie Stewart a little something. And because the last time I think Mike believes Reggie got the best of him, and I think a motivated Mike Davis against Eric or Reggie. I mean, they both play good defense on him, but Mike Davis is just too good to be limited, and the same goes for Reggie Stewart. So those two, I don't know. I don't really see anything. Deontay Washington, I guess, is a big guy. But again, I don't know who Joey is going to put on them, especially with Eric Langston out. So As far as the guards, I think Shocker City has an edge in the guard play just because they have a depth there, whereas the guards are what for TMC? You got Joey, Eric, and Reggie. Is that we're gonna say Paul's a big guy? I'm assuming.
Yeah, and we're hearing that Joey, some inside source news, told us that he asked Howie to play last week, and Howie didn't show up because he wanted to keep the team chemistry intact and thinks that since he wasn't there for a few weeks, he didn't want to mess anything up. I love that take because it shows that he's very unselfish. If that truly is the reason why he didn't want to show up. But I still think that having Howie there would benefit this team. What would you say? Because he's kind of like a hybrid guard slash forward.
Yeah, no, I get the Flint game, but this game I would have him show up. I mean, with Eric out, look, how it can't hurt, and if Howie gets hot, he keeps you in a game. Howie is one of the best shooters we've seen in the league, and one of the better players we've seen in this league. He might not be an elite player, but he is a superstar, and he is an elite defender and rebounder, and that. He matches up well on a lot of Shocker City guys like a Daniels, a Deontay, a Jerry, just because he's long, lengthy, and tall, and he's well built. So I think he should show up. We'll see.
Yeah, so we'll definitely see. Greg, so we already kind of mentioned it. Eric Langston is potential that he might not be able to be available in this game. I don't know how it's all going to shake out based on rules and whatnot. It's not the official decision. Stay tuned to the commish for that. But just hypothetically speaking, if Eric Langston, I've probably done that 3 times already. The spot Eric Singleton, Eric Langston. Holy cow! Yeah. If Eric Langston's not available to play for these guys, who's gonna have to step up and chew up some of those minutes, and who's gonna be the ones to exploit that mismatch down low for Shocker as well?
Greg Daniels. I think, obviously Deontay Washington will have a field day, but DD can shoot. If DD's hitting, he likes to shoot. We saw on the Chasers when he can hit the 3, he likes to shoot. Mm-hmm. Greg Daniels is a phenomenal offensive rebounder, and he's a great, like I said, I understand kind of why he would decline the dunk contest because he is an amazing in-game dunker. And the dunk contest is, I guess, kind of about creativity and like flash and like Pooch is more built for a dunk contest.
Right.
Whereas Greg Daniels is just a pure offensive rebounder, and that man – he showed it in the sports look game. He had like 4 putbacks that were just over people that were bigger than him. He can fly. He's a force. And I think Greg Daniels will be the one, including Danny Lopez. I think Danny Lopez will play very well down low, but I think Greg Daniels will make most of his money in the paint.
All right, Greg, let's set a spread on this game. Normally we do this kind of stuff before the episode, so let's talk about it and make it a live thing. Let's set a spread on this Run TMC versus Shocker City matchup. Who do we have winning? Obviously, that's going to go along with who we have favored. But then with the spread, we'll choose. So, in my humble opinion, I think that Shocker City should be favored. Would you agree on that, or should you disagree on that?
No, Shocker City should be favored.
Okay, so since we're establishing Shocker City as the favorite, that means with no spread, we can say that we're expecting Shocker City to win this game, no spread. Would you agree?
So last time Shocker City played TMC, they won 114-72.
Okay. So
but no Reggie Stewart.
No Reggie Stewart. So basically, without their best player.
I'd say Reggie would give them what you'd say, probably 30 that game?
At least 30. Guaranteed 30.
So they would still lose by about 8, 9.
Yeah, but that's it. You're not taking into account the impact that his 30 would have.
Shocker,
like we just talked about the demoralizations.
Shocker 3.5.
Okay, so Greg's got Shocker.
I think Shocker should be like they did. Like
I like that. Yeah. I agree with you, Greg. 3.5 is going to be
but
the spread.
Teams could definitely do it.
So with 3.5, would you pick Shocker 3.5?
Yeah,
you would.
Yeah.
So Greg's picking Shocker 3.5, but you're picking. Yeah. Okay. So that makes sense. You're rocking with them. Just you think that they'll cover.
Yeah, because I think that in this league, like, all right, let's say it's a 3-point game at the end. Then they start the way the free throws go. The teams usually at the end kind of like get like a 8, 10 point, and it's misleading. The sports look Shocker game. It looked like Shocker won by like 15. Shocker. It was such a close game.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to stay with Shocker as well.
Yeah.
I picked them obviously last week, so I'm picking them again. So that's my pick. I think that these guys are the best team, most talented team. But listen, Run TMC, do not be disrespected. My man Joey, my man Ty, Eric, Reggie, like these guys are studs, dude. Like
they're coming. They're hungry. Cody, Paul.
Cody and Paul, Captain America, and his guy Paul. I feel like all those guys are from the West Haven area, so they all, have that good team chemistry that we always talk about, Greg, and how that comes into effect. I think that TMC has that when all these guys show up, and they just need to, chew up minutes. I think Paul Miramina is going to have to be a key piece for this team, especially Cody with no Eric. Those are going to be the guys, getting a lot of minutes down low, going up against LG. So we'll see how that fares. I think that's going to be a really competitive game. I think that I would probably have like more of a 5 or 6 point spread. Just because I think that that's going to be the amount of points that TMC comes up short by. I think it's going to be close, 2-shot game, 2-possession game. But I got Shocker winning this one, Greg.
Yeah, I agree. I think Shocker wins. You got to limit the second chance points for Shocker. You gotta, if they're going to shoot threes, you got to hope they're missing them. TMC's got to box out Paul, Cody, and all them. I know they're the embodiment of heart, but they have to keep boxing out. And Shocker City's going to play their transition offense, and you got to limit their transition offense, just like Jeff Norco told us. You got to slow it down, and you have to make Shocker play your brand of basketball.
Right.
Once you let Shocker start running and gain momentum, you're not going to beat them. Devon Pratt's going to hit 4 threes. Hernandez is going to hit 2. Jerry's going to dunk. DD's going to hit a 3 and dunk. Mike Davis is going to come in and hit a dunk. Then they're going to rotate out, and the next group of subs are going to come in, and they're going to start the momentum all over again. And then that's where teams lose Shocker City. Shocker City was up 1.5 against Sportslook, and then all of a sudden you look over, it's like a 20-point game. Sportslook did come back, though. But that's what Shocker City does to you. And TMC's got to slow the pace, work the ball around, let Reggie do his thing, find Cody, Paul, get the easy looks. Joey needs to hit some of his threes. Joey's going to be big this game. Tyler's going to have to give some big minutes. Mm-hmm. And on the defensive end, again, box out. You can't give easy looks to athletic guys like Deontay Washington, Jerry Washington, Greg Daniels. They are going to posterize you and dunk over you. Like I know Eric Singleton, I know can block these guys, and same with Reggie Stewart. The other guys like Cody and Paul, I know they can too, but just smart basketball, no second chance opportunities, and TMC could take it.
So, Greg, before we wrap things up, I think it's just about to do it for this pod. We've basically gone through everything we're supposed to. Any final thoughts for the viewers at home?
Flint Nation. We'll be back.
Baby. Corn dogs.
Corn dogs, baby. We'll be back, ELE. I mean, we'll be back, baby. I will say, though, in the movie, you had Jackie Moon's goal was to finish 4th place to make it to the NBA. Flint technically finished 4th place.
Unbelievable. There you go. What a close for Greg Horn. That's going to wrap it up for another episode here on the Weekly Rebound. Thank you to all the fans and listeners for tuning in, all the players as well. You guys are what makes this podcast what it is. Wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. We'll be back next week for the finals recap and do some all-star stuff. Me and Greg will definitely get into it. And, we'll be proven wrong. We'll be proven right with this finals matchup. So, it's all going to come down to it, Greg. I'm pretty sure my record's pretty good at calling finals. So we'll see if that stands up, baby. So once again, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week.